Baltic is the code for the poll in Slido. I'm not sending the Slido because it's very easy to find on your phone or somewhere.
And Catherine, please keep us updated on the results in case I would.
Yeah, the results will be visible as soon as you vote.
Okay, great.
So,
in case also you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and I will be moderating the event. My name is Daria Aksionova. I'm a national contact point in Latvia, and I am responsible for cluster 2 calls, consultations, and today I will be moderating the event. So do we have anything on Slido, Catherine?
yes, we have distributional impacts, heritage, sociology, ICT, history, sustainability, museums, law, energy, economics, environment monitoring, waiting for more.
Great.
Linguistics. So a nice word cloud is emerging and everybody who votes can see it on their device. Not sharing it here because it would be too much of switching between screens.
Yes. I kindly ask you to turn off your microphones, not to intervene with our... I understood, Nikolai. I just hate this finger pointing.
So do we have anything new? Some people are still a bit sleepy, maybe.
A lot of sociology, so
yeah.
Museums, heritage, yeah. Energy economics, very nice. Here where transdisciplinarity goes in, actually.
So maybe Nikolai can already...
Yes, thank you very much for your answers, but we will use slide from time to time. But now I am honored to give the floor to Nikolai. Thank you very much, Nikolai, that you kindly agreed to join our event, and we are inspired to hear your presentation.
Thank you very much, Daria, Gintaut, and Catherine for inviting me here today. So good morning, everybody. First of all, a short introduction on my side. My name is Mikołaj Pyczak. I am Polish national contact point for Horizon Europe, mainly for cluster 2, but also supporting my colleagues in cluster 3, the security team as well. But my main focus is cluster 2. So for today's webinar, I will have a short introductory presentation on the role and place of SSH and transdisciplinarity in Horizon Europe. So please bear with me. I will just make my presentation visible. Hopefully it is now. And it should be working. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So first to start with a bit of a policy background, I think that we all already know that social sciences and humanities have been part of the framework programs for many years now. Already in the 7th framework program, the European Commission has recognized that social sciences and humanities and their role should be more focused, should have its own distinctive place. And therefore some planning and concrete activities from the Commission side, but also from the member state sides, have been put in place to ensure that in the future framework programs, social sciences and humanities will first of all, be widely spread and widely present in the framework programs as a whole, but also that they will have a place of their own, a distinctive place in the strategic plans, and also in the work programs and in the planning for the framework programs. So what the Horizon Europe has in planned, has prepared for SSH is that it will work on to ensure that there will be a multidisciplinary approach for the projects, for the calls in all three pillars of the program. And when appropriate, integration of SSH, which is the short for the social sciences and humanities, will be done across all the clusters, across all the activities. Also, this entails the missions of Horizon Europe. And then for it to make even a bigger impact of SSH that it has on the Horizon Europe, there will be specific calls on the topics that relate to social sciences and humanities. There will be topics continued from Horizon 2020 that will be flagged with very important intervention that will be needed from the social sciences and humanities organizations and institutions. So it's not only the pillars, but it's also missions, it's also partnerships, and this principle will be enforced and will be continued throughout the whole Horizon Europe program, as the Commission and the Member States believe that social sciences and humanities are key constituent of research and innovation, also, but maybe even especially for the topics of green transition, for the digital age, which are one of the most hot topics right now when it comes to European research and innovation activities. So what exactly does the Commission define as integration of social sciences and humanities? First of all, it has to be a technical term because everything with the Commission and framework programs has to be written black on white, so it has to be defined. And the Commission defines the SSH as inter, multi, or transdisciplinary research that involves different disciplines and different backgrounds of researchers and research institutions. It also refers to heterogeneous groups of actors, for example, the researchers that are coming from different disciplines, within, of course, the social sciences and humanities aspects and areas. Why does the Commission think that SSH integration is very important, and why does it has to be included in Horizon Europe? First of all, the need for the human-centric focus in all the research and innovation projects, because it's not only doing the research, it's not only delivering the results, the projects, the new solutions. They have to be focused around us, the human beings, because if the research and the innovation doesn't reflect and reply to the needs of the society, what use and what good can it be for us? Also, SSH will help to develop the better solutions that are supposed and that aim to solve the problems, very complex problems that are now the issue in Europe, but also throughout the whole world. So that the technical solutions the Commission thinks are not enough right now, and the human approach, societal approach, needs also to be put in place. So the social relevance, the clear social relevance, cost effectiveness, marketability are the key approaches, the key issues that also SSH fabric, SSH community will have their input to. And of course, what the Commission has already been very much putting pressure and focus on is that the projects, the calls, should also have a very strong societal impact and even better, even broader citizen engagement, which is very much and very often now seen in the topic descriptions, where it is specifically said and written that citizen engagement is a very important thing that has to be taken on board by the consortia when preparing their project proposals. So, having said that, Horizon Europe and social sciences and humanities, so basically SSH is present in all the pillars of the program, with different aspects, with different experiences and backgrounds of SSH researchers. I'm sorry. Those institutions and people are very well equipped and capable of providing their expertise in very different areas of the Horizon Europe, be it in health or the climate, energy, or the food or security issues. Everywhere, when you read the work programs, when you start going deep into the topic descriptions, you will see basically a need for an SSH intervention on various different aspects and various different levels. So there's plenty of room, plenty of opportunities for social sciences and humanities researchers to be very active and and have a very big impact on the proposals itself. So a couple of points on why the consortia outside of Cluster 2, because Cluster 2 is basically SSH focused, but why consortia in other clusters, in other pillars, should think of why they should include SSH organizations in the projects. So first of all, the Commission in the calls, in the work programs, the Commission explicitly calls that in certain topics or in many topics even, SSH expertise is really needed and even mandatory to contribute to framing the questions and issues to be tackled by the whole Horizon Europe program. And therefore, the Commission has implemented flagging, meaning that some topics are predestined to have very impactful presence of an involvement of SSH researchers, and they are basically very integral, and they are and their presence there and their input and knowledge is very much required for the successful even evaluation of the proposals. So whenever the topic is flagged, and I will speak about it, how to look for the flags and where to actually look for them. When the topic is flagged with a need of SSH integration, it means that this integration, this intervention from social sciences and humanities should contain a meaningful integrated contribution, and it has to really be active participation in the project. So what can SSH community bring is that they can provide new findings, new approaches, new solutions that from their point of view can give new answers, can give new developments, new products even that, for example, the STEM community would not come up with given their different scientific and work experience background. And also, what I already said at the beginning, whenever a topic is flagged with the need of SSH intervention from specific institutions, and the consortium includes them and gives them enough room to provide their valuable contribution, it gives the whole consortium that applies for the call better chances during the evaluation. So the flagging is a tool, an instrument that the Commission provides within Horizon Europe that allows and ensures that involvement of specific social sciences and humanities institutions is present enough to provide meaningful contribution to the project. Flagging is present in all non-cluster 2 cluster calls, because as I said, cluster 2 is basically SSH focused, and also in the missions. What the Commission means also by flagging is that specific terminology is being used in the call description, in the topic text, that is used to identify what kind of social sciences and humanities research focus, research experience, research background, or the actual institutions are being sought for. And also the flag topics contain this sentence that you see at the bottom of my slide, stating that there is a requirement for an effective contribution of SSH disciplines in the specific context. And this implies that the consortium preparing a proposal for this particular topic is more or less obliged to have an SSH institution on board of the proposal, because the evaluators will be specifically briefed for this and other topics that have been flagged, that they need to look if there is an SSH institution, and if the scope and amount of tasks and work that will be assigned to them reflects the need for SSH research that has been highlighted in the topic texts. So where to look for the topics that have been flagged by the Commission? Of course, the first door is the Funding and Tenders portal. Once you go there and you will select, you can see it on the left side of the screen. Once you go there, select the Horizon Europe calls, you can, of course, choose any of the clusters of pillars. And then there is this one option that you can choose from, which is the quick search on specific priorities. There are a couple different filtering options there, but one is very much important for us, which is the socioeconomic sciences and humanities. And once you click on it, all the topics that are forthcoming or open for submission or even closed, which have been flagged by the Commission, sorry, with a need for SSH intervention, you will see it there. So first of all, the Funding and Tenders portal. Also, FNT portal will be valuable for you once you start to look for SSH partners, because it allows also finding institutions that are interested in specific programs, specific call topics, and it will provide you, with information about organizations that are interested in collaborating in specific calls and specific topics also of your interest. Second very important step, which I know that you know these kinds of events, are the brokerage events, which are organized by basically all NCP networks. These events are done either in an old-fashioned on-site manner, which we all very much like because of the possibility to have informal discussions, informal brainstorming in between the various sessions, but also the brokerage meetings for some time now on are being held online. Both kinds of events have their pros and cons. So obviously, with an online event, you can have more people attending because there is no need to travel, but then you miss the opportunity for a small talk during the coffee breaks, the lunch breaks, and you might miss some important opportunities for yourself. But on the other hand, with the online brokerage events, you have significantly more people attending, so even more opportunities. So you can choose whatever form of participation that is available and make a very good use of it, because we all know as an NCPs that those events are really beneficial for our stakeholders. We have very good feedback, lots of very good feedback, saying that they were able to either find partners for their projects or find projects that they could join in as a partners. So you are very much welcome to visit the Horizon Europe NCP portal, which is like a focal point for the NCP networks, and from there on you can go and be active in different brokerage events. Just one note, which I think will be very important to you. Many NCP networks are not only organizing a 1-day or 2-day brokerage event, which are basically all of them being held through this interactive B2Match platform, but then afterwards, after the event, the platforms are still open, meaning that you still can have meetings, that you can still have online discussions with people on the platforms, and those platforms are, for example, either open until the call deadline, which, for example, is the case of the security platform, but the Cluster 2 community platform, as we call it right now, will be open basically until the end of Horizon Europe. So whenever you want, you can jump in, you can browse the participants, which we already have over 2,500 there. You can put your collaboration offers in a place that is called a marketplace. So there are really lots of opportunities that you can take. So,
Nikolai, a little bit just.
Okay. I am speeding up. I am coming very close to my presentation,
Thank
so
you.
I will be faster now. So some practical tips. When reading the topics, be aware that if a SSH contribution is needed, you have to take it. You have to take partners with you, because otherwise, during the evaluation process, this will be considered not in your benefit, and your proposal will be underscored. So whenever you need to find a partner, please first of all move to the NCP networks, get in touch with Net4 Society or other projects, and then from there go on and look for partners to your projects. What can help you is also SSH opportunities document, which is basically taking out all the SSH flag topics from 23-24 work programs of the whole Horizon Europe. And then it points out all the topics, all the flags, all the keywords and wording which is being put there by the Commission. As you can see here on the slide, there are some examples from Cluster 6. With topics that have been flagged and with keywords providing information about the disciplines that are needed from SSH community in order to make the project successful. So also there are some tools like Shape ID that will help you out with tips, guidelines, and examples how to carry out your interdisciplinary research, not only in Horizon Europe, but also in other funding programs for research and innovation in Europe. So if you have any additional questions, we, the NCPs for Cluster 2, are here for you. So you can contact directly our Net4 Society coordination team, or myself, or my colleagues here that are present during this webinar. So thank you very much. Apologies for overextending the presentation. Thank you.
Oh, everything fine. Thank you very much, Nikolai. Thank you for explaining the significance and importance of inter-transdisciplinarity. In case you have any questions, please send them in the chat. Otherwise, we will share your presentation with our participants, with all the registered participants, I mean. And really, thank you. So what I would like to draw your attention to after Nikolai's presentation is also Slido as well. We have there a question, and it is a multiple choice question. Before Catherine's presentation will follow. So which statement describes your current contacts best? And it would be nice to know. No real contacts with colleagues in another Baltic countries, because we are focusing here on Baltic countries, profiles and collaboration. General contacts with colleagues in another Baltic country, cooperation within my own field discipline, cooperation with colleagues from another field discipline, cooperation with colleagues from several fields or disciplines. And it would be nice to know what we have here. Okay, I will. So right now, the statistics is as follows. General contacts with colleagues in another Baltic country, cooperation within my own field or discipline is on a very good level, like 50% of the respondents answered that. No real colleagues in another Baltic countries, that's why we are here, actually. General contacts with colleagues in another Baltic countries, 20%, and cooperation with colleagues from another field discipline, 20% as well. So thank you very much for everyone who participated in the Slido. And our next speaker will focus on Baltic profiles 2021-2023, Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian participants in cluster 2 and beyond. My dear colleague Katrin Kello and her colleague Helen Asukule-Toke, Estonian Research Council. I hope I pronounced it well. So all the attention to Katrin and her slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Daria, and thank you all for coming. So I am Katrin Kello. I'm the Estonian national contact point or advisor in Horizon Europe, culture, creativity, and inclusive society issues. And I work with my colleague Helen at the Estonian Research Council. So my presentation will be about the Baltic profiles in Horizon Europe from the SSH perspective. But first of all, what we're talking about, we're talking about the Research and Innovation Framework Program Horizon Europe, which has many parts, many instruments dedicated to different research and innovation funding needs. And as Mikko presented, the Pillar 2 with the top-down core topics and 6 thematic clusters is a place where these SSH flagged topics can be found, where social sciences and humanities contribution is explicitly expected. And this is what I will talk about now. And there is another area or program part in Horizon Europe, the strengthening the European research area, which also has SSH flagged topics. So these core topics where it is told the applicants very specifically what is expected from the proposals, content-wise. And also there are flagged topics in the missions, which are very similar core topics to Pillar 2 clusters. And there are currently now 5 missions. So these are also like thematic groups of core topics in Horizon Europe. So to go to the Baltic statistics, first a general picture. In November this year, there were altogether 2,776 successful projects from Pillar 2, from the 6 clusters and from missions all over Europe. And 220 of these projects were from Cluster 2, so this dedicated social sciences and humanities group of core topics. And these are numbers which are changing all the time because the call deadlines are placed in different times. But for Cluster 2, these statistics includes 2021 to 2023 call topics, because we already know the results for also 23 call. And now Baltic Pi, altogether there were 479 projects funded from Pillar 2 and missions. And from Cluster 2, there are 54 projects funded. And this meant 70.4 million euros, which was brought to the Baltic countries. So we can see that Cluster 2 is a bit bigger compared to the pie as a whole, as compared to the general amount of topics. Because of course, in different areas, in different thematic groups, European Union funds different numbers of core topics. But we are strong in the SSH dedicated area. And once more about this flagging of SSH. This flagging is actually also used for Cluster 2. And if we compare different thematic clusters and missions, then we can see that the percentage of SSH flagged topics from all call topics in a thematic cluster is different. And of course, most of these topics are in cluster 2, but also in health missions and cluster 6, food, bioeconomy, environment. There are many. And currently the actual open calls which are interesting for SSH community are in cluster 2 and cluster 6. So, but what about Baltic profiles? Since we do not have very good data for SSH participation for all Baltic countries in other clusters, so first of all, I take a look at this dedicated cluster 2, culture, creativity and inclusive society. I take it as a proxy for social sciences and humanities participation in Horizon Europe, top-down call topics. This cluster 2 is a group of call topics, thematic cluster which focuses on state, society, culture, economy, and creative economy issues, burning issues which European Union is expecting solutions from researchers. And in turn, these call topics within the cluster are grouped into destinations: democracy and governance, European cultural heritage and culture and creative industries, and social and economic transformations. This is just to help to get overview of the topics. So favorite call topics among Baltic participants from the start of Horizon Europe. So these 3 calls, which we know the results already, are on this slide. And how I defined favorite topics, this means that there were 7 or more proposals with Baltic participants under a call topic. Proposals are evaluated under call topics. So this is a very important instrument. And we see that very many, I marked them in green, relate to cultural heritage, cultural industries. 2 of the favorite 11 relate to education and 2 to governance, democracy. And in brackets, I have the number of funded projects. So there are 2 very popular projects, which 2 very popular call topics under which no project with Baltic participants was funded, but most of them had 1 or 2 funded proposals. And now, if we look at the successful topics, we see that the picture is a bit different. So the top 11 successful topics, where we have 2 to 3 retained proposals, it's a technical term, with Baltic participation, are more evenly distributed between, let's say, disciplines within social sciences and humanities. So we have blue with governance-related issues. I have marked with orange education for democracy, media for democracy, and also global shortages and skills partnerships, which is related to available skills on the work market, job market, and also culture and creative industries with green. And an interesting addition, I think, is that we all know that success rate is not very high, or this is generally believed that success rate is not very high in Horizon Europe. But the success rate differs strongly between call topics, and proposals are evaluated under call topics. So there can be call topics which have very strong competition, and there are call topics which have less competition. So I added to this list, just as an example, the number of submitted proposals altogether under that topic. And we see that this ranges from 5. So a proposal with Baltic participation competes with 4 others, or I see here 51, and still there are successful proposals with Baltic participation. So sometimes it is difficult to say in advance Sometimes it's easy because digital education, culture will have more proposals than sociology, for example. But you can explore it later. It's quite interesting. And don't be afraid, even if the competition is strong, it's still possible to get a funded project. And here now on this slide, I have all publishable participants in projects with Baltic participation, which got funded in calls since 21. There are more. We know about more successful participants, but they are not yet in projects which have signed grant agreements, so we may not publish them yet. But these are already publicly available, and I have grouped them. Blue are the usual suspects, universities and higher education institutions. On the left-hand side are Tallinn, Riga, and Kaunas participants. On the right-hand side are Tartu, Daugavpils, Panevėžys, and Vilnius participants. And you can see that the 7 places from where these participants are currently on the Baltic maps. Then we have think tanks and other research institutions which are not universities. Then we have different innovation, health, education related institutions. For example, Lithuanian Nurses Association, also interesting. Also state institutions like Education and Youth Board. And we have culture and creative industry, museums, Lithuanian National Philharmonic Society, Black Nights Film Festival. So very interesting participants from the culture and creativity. And we also looked with Helen at how many projects, proposals and successful projects have participants from several Baltic countries. And this is again the data from the 3 first rounds in Horizon Europe since 21. We see that there are seven successful projects which include 2 Baltic countries. So 7 from 54. I think it's not bad, but there could be place for growth. So this was about Cluster 2, Baltic profiles in Cluster 2. If I have a bit more time, then I would present an Estonian example about how social science and humanities researchers are doing in other clusters. So as Mikolai presented, Cluster 1 health, Cluster 3 security for society, and so on. We don't have this data at present for Latvia and Lithuania, so we present the Estonian data. Before I talked about Cluster 2, culture, creativity, and inclusive society in Pillar 2. And now this will be about other SSH flagged areas in Horizon Europe. How did we check the Estonian SSH researchers in the other clusters? This needed checking because we as NCPs, national contact points, we get information on institutional level. So we get information about universities and other institutions who participate. But for example, if we know a project in the field of digital industry and space, we know that a university participates there. We don't know which area researchers there are. That's why we need checking. And to check this with Helen, we first took out from eCorda, which is a closed database for Horizon Europe participants and proposals. We took all Estonian successful participants in SSH flagged calls, 29, 22. So we looked at the 2 first years of Horizon. And we found altogether 105 projects which got funded under those calls with Estonian participants. There are 58 unique participants, so different institutions. That was step one. Then as a step two, we used the Estonian research information system, known as ETIS in Estonian. And we could also take out information about these 105 projects, whether they were already entered into ETIS and whether a social science or humanities discipline was added to the project. So research institutions always enter all the funded projects into ETIS, and they attach disciplines. They can attach as many disciplines as they want to each project. And status July this year, there were 10 such projects from these 105, where an SSH discipline was added. And we looked at them and we saw that in 7, this also meant that the PI was from the field of SSH, and we could clearly see the SSH contribution in this project. Not bad, 7 projects. There were 18 in cluster 2. So cluster 2 is a dedicated SSH project, and there we have 18 projects where SSH researchers are contributing from these two first years, and 7 in addition from other clusters. 1 from health, 1 from cluster digital industry and space, 2 from cluster 6, and 2 from program part reforming and enhancing the era. I have taken them all out, and here are like short descriptions of the SSH contributions and the institutions who contributed. We can see there is behavior in internet, economic analysis, surveying and studying representations among population about plastics and recycling of plastics and about new plastics, and working on governance frameworks in the area of green transition. And then we have co-evolvers, which Professor Timo Moran will talk about shortly, and 2 which deal with research ethics and researchers' cooperation and trust in science. So this is based on 2 first years of Horizon Europe. And for the Estonian readers, the analysis which we made with Kristin Kraav, Helen Asukila-Tükke, and myself about social sciences, humanities, and also the cultural sector participation in projects funded based on the 2 first years. It's much longer. It's about the whole of Horizon Europe, and it's available in Estonian. We're very proud of it, so please, Estonians, read it if you haven't yet. Conclusion. This will not be any more about statistics, but I included some reminders and conclusions from my as national contact point perspective, always trying to promote possibilities. So the call deadline for cluster 2, the dedicated cluster, currently open calls, is 7 February. Almost all topics are interesting for both social sciences and humanities. And there is still option to find a consortium, perhaps, if you are an interesting and lucky partner. And many are already participating in proposals. In cluster 2, which has many interesting call topics, as we saw for humanities and social sciences. I have listed just examples. They have calls closing on 22 and 28 February. Mikko, I also showed them already. And then there will be in March at least 1 interesting topic in the strengthening the European research area program part. In cluster 4, there are interesting topics and also an upcoming topic which is not public yet, and cluster 5 as well. And cluster 3, Some very interesting topics will close only in November, so there's also still time. And there are core topics which are not yet public, not yet published, not yet available on the Funding and Tenders portal. So follow the information. The whole missions work program for 2024. So all missions core topics are not yet public. And also in cluster 2, there will be an additional small call on European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. Upcoming info days. There is one in Latvia on 5 December and one in Estonia on 6 December. Registration open, at least for the Estonian one already. You can find the link on ETAG front page or in the slides. And information on the Latvian info day for cluster 2 on Latvian homepage. And there are also available for cluster 2 all presentations by European Commission about the core topics which close on 7 February. So very detailed information, official information, very recommended. And our contacts, don't hesitate to contact us, to write us, follow our information. Latvians and Lithuanians have a LinkedIn page. In Estonia, we use a mailing list of Estonian Research Council and a Facebook group where there are already more than 800 participants who are keeping this group for välisteaduskoostöö. These are our main information channels. And also, I always recommend to register as expert, to express to the European Commission the interest to evaluate Horizon proposals and other program proposals. You can click which programs you are interested in evaluating. Maybe you will be chosen as evaluator, and then you get the best insight into Horizon Europe proposals. And also COST is a wonderful program where projects can be joined during their lifetime. So check it out, see if there are COST projects ongoing which interest you. This was all for now by my side and Helen's side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It was inspiring. We are a little bit ahead of time, but I would like to draw your attention that we have one more questionnaire in Slido. And we are very interested in knowing, have you applied for funding under Horizon Europe top-down call topics? And the answers would be yes, no. Don't know, don't remember, difficult to say. And would we still, dear event organizers, keep to this 5 minutes pause to ask, provide the possibility for our participants to grab a cup of coffee or water? Yeah, before we will proceed with our more practical part. I mean, project implementers. So, okay, like right now, then we will have a 5 minutes break just for you to relax a little bit, and then we will proceed with our participants with the practicalities and project implementers. Thank you.
Yeah, let's go grab a coffee. See you soon.
And we are back. Thank you very much. I hope this pause was useful for you. So I would just look on our Slido, and we have a very similar results for yes and no. So now, by the way, someone who is using their mic, please mute it, because now I would like to give the floor to Timo Maran and Lona Pell, from the University of Tartu, Department of Semiotics. And they will tell us a little bit more about their project Co-Evolvers. And we are really eager to hear this. Thank you very much, Professor, that you agreed to participate. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we will introduce the project, tell a bit about our experience with that, and then also introduce the specific format that is used in many projects, which is called living labs, and what are the kind of positive and negative aspects or issues, and also like hopes with that. And with me there is Lona Pell, who is practically involved with Tartu Living Lab. But now I'm going to share the screen, and then we go.
Thank you. We can see the screen, yes, and in the presentation mode as well. Thank you.
Yes. So shortly to introduce the project. The project Co-Evolvers is focused on the phenomenon and concept of nature-based solutions. So I very shortly say what the nature-based solutions are, to give you some perception of that. And currently, as we are living in times of multiple crises, so there are really different problems. Societal problems, also environmental problems that needs to be addressed. There's climate change, there's biodiversity loss, there's growing inequality, there is waste problem, and there is also understanding that these different issues somehow contribute to one another. So they are not separate, but they really are a kind of different aspects or different phases of one crisis. And so also the solutions needs to address them as interconnected. And here the idea of nature-based solutions comes in. So nature-based solutions are kind of solutions to complex social and ecological challenges. And they should integrate and benefit both humans and nature. The idea is how to connect social actors, social forces, and other species, environmental actors to work together. And also important idea is that this needs to be done in local level and in everyday practices. So this kind of top-down regulations do not help, because or they are not so successful because people and different circumstances in local level may be different, and may also have very kind of strong inertia or kind of strong traditions related with them. So we need to go to the local level, we need to go to the field. Nature-based solutions are addressing different types of integrations between environmental forces, other species, and humans. And so there may be different types of nature-based solutions related to the question that what sort of environments, what sort of landscapes, what sort of solutions we are dealing with. So there may be some that are more related with intact, well-preserved environments, well-preserved ecosystems, like fishing regulation, for instance. But there also may be some that create like new ecosystem, new types of integration between humans and other species, like many new urban ecosystems and green walls and green roofs and also urban agriculture. And all of them can be considered as a kind of integration points between different forces, different interests, some of them coming from nature, some of them coming from society and culture. So what's specific about this our project or co-evolvers approach? So we really want to strengthen a relationship and integration between humans and nature through what we call co-evolving or co-evolution. And the idea is here that by kind of integrating or working together with different agents in culture and nature, we need to really establish new kind of habits, new ways of living that at the same time need to be also kind of creative and open. So it's pretty much about trying out what works and integrating academic knowledge, integrating science, but also very closely working with everyday activities in the field. And also our project puts a strong emphasis to vulnerable groups, like people who are suffering from social exclusion, but also non-human species and non-human actors are included here. So these groups that usually do not have much voice and much impact in the society. So the project includes 11 partners from different countries of the Europe, and there are 7 living labs around Europe. And living labs are then this kind of specific, laboratories or kind of cases in which we can describe, try out, develop new forms of habits, working towards these solutions that integrate better humans and environmental forces and ecosystems. So this was a very quick overview of the project topic, and now I'm going to our experience with this project. So it's kind of very personal and subjective description that I'm providing here. So first, who we are. We are basically ecosemiotic research group in the Department of Semiotics, University of Tartu. And in the project, we have also quite specific focus. We are handling one of living labs, dealing with multi-species city. We are also doing the Umwelt analysis, which is a specific methodology to include and understand other species, their interest in relation with humans. And so incorporating non-human perspectives is kind of our task in the project. Now, how we ended up as a partner in this project, we were contacted by lead partner, who is the institute in Finland, Finnish Natural Resources Management Institute. And the kind of central group of this project is in ecological economics, which is quite new field to us, but the lead partner felt that they would need some sort of semiotic competence and competence of non-human species. So based on our previous project and based on our kind of publications, they made contact with us about a year before the call deadline. So the consortium is very multidisciplinary. Aside of us, there are also environmental psychologists, for instance. It also includes a few non-governmental organizations and non-academic partners. So it's not only universities, but groups with a very diverse background. I would say that up to date, the communication, cooperation, and work management has gone surprisingly well. And this is very much because of the strong lead partner. I think the lead partner is very well established. They have very well-functioning support structure, including management, legal support, bookkeeping. All this is very well organized. And this really makes work for our partners much more easier. What is also interesting about this project is that actually the number of contacts and the amount of cooperation is very intense, very high. I think much higher than that with what we are usually used to in academic work. So there are general meetings in every second week, plus meetings in smaller groups. So basically you will have a meeting or two in a week connected with this project. So this is quite intense, plus then physical meetings also in different seminars and conferences. Now, some strengths and challenges in regard to this project. As I mentioned, the lead partner is very competent and has very good kind of support structure. And what I'm learning from that is that I wish that in local level, these support structures would be somewhat similar. But hopefully we are moving to this direction. The project itself is methodologically very interesting because there's attention to co-evolving, attention to this kind of processual approach, and also integrating different levels, integrating theory and applications, integrating, putting together scientists and local people, putting together different interest groups. So it's really a lot of interesting kind of facets and avenues there. I think, and this is very difficult to predetermine when going to the new application, but in our case, the group has a good kind of internal atmosphere. It's supportive. There are many people with really deep interest to the subject matter and also kind of original thinking and kind of positive outlook to the project and project results. So kind of general feeling and being part of this project is pleasant, I would say. And now about some challenges. First, of course, interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarity. So there are people with very different background knowledge, different understanding about methods and research styles. Also, there is difference between kind of co-evolving methodology and the reporting to European Commission. So this kind of bureaucratic, more formal language, and then the kind of research that we're doing in the field. So there's a lot of kind of translating between those. And I think while being the part of this project, one suggestion or one thing that I consider important is not losing your focus, not losing your kind of angle or competence in the field, because at the same time, of course, you need to be open to different initiatives and to cooperation, but still keeping your focus, because there's so many things going on that it's kind of difficult to, or it's easy to get lost in the project, so to say. Large projects tend to be overwhelming. So when planning the project, when writing the application, try to be realistic about the work amount, try to be realistic about funding, And also, it's very beneficial if you have a team around you, or if you can build the local team. Fortunately, we have a quite good research group, but I imagine that being participant of this kind of project alone or with one or two colleagues can be difficult. Because it's just so intense. Now, administration, management, and reporting, all this part that needs to be properly done, can be difficult, can be headache. So, if possible, if your institution has the possibilities, I suggest to include a competent person in these matters to the project. It makes life much more easier. In our case, we do not have a dedicated person. We try to manage this by ourselves, and sometimes it is, well, takes time, and there are kind of issues that needs to be solved, and so forth. Now, and to conclude from my part, so why to go into this? Why really to participate in this kind of Horizon project? Most probably it will be interesting because it's a bit about stepping out from your own comfort zone. It's getting into contact with new methodologies, with new terminologies, quite probably some new and fascinating interdisciplinary configurations will born, either in the form of joint papers or some kind of conference sessions or some practical work. Also, Horizon projects are practically oriented, so they basically give means and format to use and implement your research and competences in practice. And as many of us are working in universities, and universities are a kind of closed bubbles in the sense, and this really is a means to change something, to make some sort of impact in the society. And this may be a good thing. And lastly, I think that participating in such projects can be also good for your professional development. It's about learning research leadership and management. It's about getting experience how things are solved, how they are organized. It's also about getting new contacts and new venues of research where you wouldn't end up otherwise. So there are many kind of positive things that probably last also beyond the scope and reach of this project, and that really kind of give you more back than it is visible at first. But now I would like to give floor to my good colleague Loonapääl to talk a bit about Tartu Living Labs.
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me. So as Timo mentioned, I am coordinating Tartu Living Lab, and as was on one of the previous slides, there is 7 living labs across Europe in this project, and our living lab in Tartu is concerned with urban nature or city nature and green spaces and biodiversity issues in Tartu. And we aim to introduce a multi-species approach. We aim to make people notice multi-species perspective, other non-human agents in city, and try to make city more livable for different kind of species. So we have this semiotic theoretical ground, and we are trying to develop different practices that are more sustainable. And we focus on one certain area in Tartu across Emajõgi. It's this area is in Raadi, Kvisantali, and Ülejõe neighborhoods. So this living lab format in general was quite new for us. We didn't know about this before, although we have had some practical projects in semiotics department, and also people from our research group have been dealing with different practical projects also outside from university. So this practical side wasn't new, but the living lab itself was. So we have to learn as we go, in a sense. On the next slide, we have pictures from our kickoff meeting, and organizing this living lab or working with this living lab format for our team, that is a research team. This means we have to turn around our usual research process. We can't develop theory or even really concrete and close the research questions and then go to do fieldwork, but we have to co-create or co-evolve, as Timo mentioned. So this means we have to work with our partners, work with local communities and work with experts outside from university, from the beginning to the end. So we can't keep doing our research as we usually do. And of course, in theory, semioticians have these ad hoc and open methods and so on, but this living lab still raised a lot of practical issues, how to actually work together with locals. As you can see from the photos, we organized this kickoff meeting. And actually before that, we organized group meetings with the people from the area that we knew and from several experts. And we had one NGO also supporting us. So we had this preliminary mapping idea. And then also part of this kickoff meeting, we tried to get to know the area and the community and what are the problems with this urban nature and what are the issues with biodiversity. On the next slide, you can see example of events we are organizing in this living lab. We organized from spring to autumn this year a series of garden visits. We visited individual gardens, people's actual gardens, and also some public spaces like community garden and cemetery. So this helped us to build this community and share knowledge. Our idea behind those garden visits was to bring in some experts, and they gave insight on specific topic. And when we chose these topics for garden visits, we tried to keep in mind the idea of the project that we should bring into discussion the parties or communities or species that are not noticed, are not acknowledged so much. For example, we had in November, we had this visit to Raadi Cemetery in Tartu, and we talked about the tree fungi and mushrooms and cultural heritage. So this is the part of species that are not highly well known among people. So yeah. On the next slide is an example how we are testing and developing new methods in this living lab, because one of the ideas of the living lab is actually to apply or test our semiotic methodology. And this is really good opportunity for us because our work group have been more than 10 years, maybe some people developing this secosemiotic methodology and Umwelt methodology that Timo mentioned. But now we have some kind of motivation or framework to actually apply to test those with communities and with people outside from university. So this is both challenging and also useful. And on the photos, you can see this sensory walk we were organizing in Kvisatali area in September. So on the next slide, we have this expert group meeting. Yeah, this is the right one. So the main idea, as Timo already mentioned, was to bring together different kind of knowledge in this project, like kind of co-evolve and cooperate. And this means we have to work with experts and also with local communities. So part of the project, actually, we had to form a national consultation group with 10 experts from different fields. And these experts actually gave really useful input for all the living labs. The idea was to discuss about nature-based solutions and keep in mind all 7 living labs and kind of take into account the local contexts in 7 countries and try to approach wider picture of nature-based solutions, why they work in certain contexts and why they don't work in other contexts and so on. But actually forming this group of experts was extremely useful for us. And I am not sure if this is a mandatory or common practice in Horizon projects, or is it required? But I really suggest this because after first meeting with those experts, we felt motivated and seen and supported because these are the people who are from different fields dealing with the same topics. And now we have people to turn to when we have questions. And the idea is that we update these people on our progress and we meet several times over the project timeline. So on the next slide, on my final slide, I phrased some of the challenges. I know Timo already did it, and we have some similar challenges. But in the context of Living Lab, this was our first time with working with this format. And these are the questions what should be asked in the phase of applying, in the phase of preparing this application for Horizon when we deal with Living Lab. So first of all, how realistic is our plan? Because we mostly originated from our research interests and research questions, but this may not be the best idea because in Living Lab there has to be some concrete focus or concrete problem. Of course, we have to discuss and map the local community and get to know their viewpoint, but from the beginning, we also have to think through what is the realistic influence we can have, because we have 4 years project with 5 people. So what is the realistic piece we can change and how? One of the most urgent and challenging questions for us is who are the dialogue partners for us? So we have to work with local communities, but also with experts, with different institutions from the area, and also different individuals and organizations, NGOs, and different kind of dialogue partners come with different kind of communicational channels in order to keep in touch. So here also it would be so useful to think through who are the target groups or who are the stakeholders we are communicating. And for us, these stakeholder mapping tools were quite useful. in this sense. And Tim already mentioned that one of the ideas was to include vulnerable groups or groups that are not involved so far. This is also challenging, how to find those vulnerable groups and how to reach them in a sense. And there are some ethical questions also, and this is different in different countries. And yeah. So the idea of this living lab is to constantly co-evolve or co-create. And one really practical aspect we didn't think of before is what is the position of our partners, because we have this research group, but we have several NGOs, for example, and institutions. How we pay them, or when we can't hire experts from outside the work group, but how we motivate them in long term. If we have like 4 years project, what is the position? What is the formal type of cooperation in a sense? There are some really specific regulations about this in Horizon projects. And for example, in Living Lab in Spain, in our project, their aim is to manage wildfires with grazing sheep in certain target areas. And so for them, these local shepherds, local workers, they are so relevant partners, but they can't be hired. And there are some rules about this. So how can they like pay or motivate, or what is the cooperation in practical side? And the aspect of translation was also listed in Timo's challenges, but I can't stress this too much, because for me this is the main challenge and main point, and also the main like learning aspect also in this project. This whole project and Living Lab can be seen as a constant translation or adaptation of different terminology, aims, methods, workflows, work practices, and so on. The one practical thing is how to actually translate terminology, or how to use this bureaucratic terminology like nature-based solutions or Living Lab. People doesn't use this and don't understand it so well. So we have to switch between different discourses constantly. And also working with different kind of NGOs and institutions, their work practices and funding and all the other mechanisms are quite different. So we have to think through how we do this. So it's constant shifting between perspective, human and non-human, local, international, Estonian, European, research, or practical everyday discourse. So one issue is timeline. Also, as we have discovered, some tasks may take more time than we expected, and our Living Lab is quite, it's outside Living Lab. We are dealing with urban nature and green spaces. So, for example, seasonal changes is a good factor for us, or important factor to keep in mind. For example, when we focus on Umbelt analysis that Tim already mentioned, and focus on some sensations and needs for other species, we need to know this area and these conditions, and this is different in different seasons. So, and many activities can be done in spring or in autumn, because in summer people are away from the city, and in winter it's hard to actually organize something outside in Estonia. So, and the last one, the challenge or idea is to think through is how to work across living labs, because in our living lab, the leaders are like researchers, but in some cases from those 7, the NGOs or local people are like leading these living labs, and their work practices and workflows and how they actually communicate is quite different. And yeah, and Timo already talked about wider management and how this is supporting actually, or like trying to cope with these differences. And this is really useful. And this is really good, have been good experience in our project, because Luke from Finland, who is organizing this, they are doing most of this communicating and reporting work. And this is really well coordinated. But when we have those meetings with other European partners, we can see that there are so many different kind of things, different kind of practices we can learn from. So, and to conclude, for me, the main keyword when working in this living lab is dialogue or cooperation. And it has been really useful and enlightenment for me, in a sense, I have to every day think about dialogue or cooperation, how to explain my ideas or my questions in several other like discourses and to other participants. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alona. Thank you, Timo. It was really inspiring. And what I wanted also to add a little bit on this, you addressed so many things at once that it is really hard to focus, but probably in case our participants would like to ask you a question, this is the nice time for it. And of course, the proposal should be clear. As soon as it is clear enough, it is easier for you to conduct the research and understandable what objectives we shall take into consideration and how we will address them. And of course, what I envy you already, you have an ecosystem already. So inside which you operate, and you can ask the experts or address the people, communities that already have gathered around your project. This is a really nice example how Horizon Europe broadens your horizon, actually, in not only, I mean, in the lab, but also outside it, how this ecosystem then starts living and evolving actually after this. So, and one more thing, I wanted just to add that this project was not in cluster 2, it was in cluster 6. This is also important to remember, because we here touched upon interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity. This is, you are not in frames only in cluster 2, you can expand, and there are a lot of opportunities, really very different opportunities, but you still can conduct your research. You do not need to switch to the other research fields. So we do not have any questions right now, but probably later everyone will be sent out the recording and your presentation as well. Thank you very much. And this was really a nice opportunity to know more. And we will proceed with the project Diacomet. Kristina Juraite, professor at Vytautas Magnus University, Department of Public Communication. I'm inspired to give you the floor. Thank you very much. And please tell us more about your project.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this very kind invitation to be together and to enjoy this, I would say, knowledge sharing and experience sharing session, meeting. It is indeed very much inspiring and very much enriching to hearing our colleagues, how they are managing inside Co-Volvers project. And I'm very much looking forward to another project which will be presented. We will provide you with our experience, but looking at the time, I would just ask how much time do we have for this presentation?
So let us stick to 20 minutes.
Okay, that's very, very nice.
Yes.
Let me know if you can see the screen shared, the slides with the comment.
The slides not yet. We can see the shared screen, and this is MS Teams. So share the slides, please. And
yes,
at least I can see only myself.
Okay, I will try to do that again and use another way.
Yes, we see the slides. Thank you.
Okay, visible enough?
Yes, very good.
Thank you. And yes, briefly, we would like to present Horizon Europe project under Cluster 2 and the topic of media for democracy and democratic media project, which is entitled Fostering Capacity Building for Civic Resilience and Participation, Dialogic Communication, Ethics and Accountability. Project coordinator is Vytautas Magnus University in Lithuania. We just started this year. This is our sixth month of implementation of the project, and we will share a little bit about the conceptual approach of the project, also methodological framework, and implementational practices and experiences that we have so far. Also lessons learned. And I'm very happy that I am together with my good colleague Agle Gerlaitine, who kindly joined this presentation, and perhaps she could also talk a little bit about or share her experience from the project management perspective as expert in this field. And as the previous speaker Timo Maran mentioned, it's very important indeed to have a strong supportive team inside your institution. Well, oh, I'm so sorry, that's unexpected. I cannot recognize any symbol. Can you?
We cannot, no. But probably you can save right now, if it is possible, your presentation in PDF and show us in PDF.
Okay, look.
Yes, because yes, it corrupted symbols sometimes because due to the use of different fonts, and that is why an issue occurs from time to time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry to.
No, everything fine. Everything fine.
Right now, I see there are different slides, and some of them are visible. Some of them have a problem, perhaps because of fonts used. Well, just briefly about the context of our project. So first of all, we are addressing the challenges of digital communication ecosystem and the problems with information noise, disinformation, different kinds of information disorders, including hate speech, etc. And increasing number of media actors or communication actors that who are involved in this ecosystem and who are participating in digital communication environment. So when we are addressing the issues of growing threats and risks of unethical communication and sometimes illegal communication, we believe that it is important to start discussing the culture of dialogue in public communication environment. The dialogue and accountability are the core ideas we are building our framework and our model and our innovative instrument to offer by the end of this project as a contribution or as a possibility to solve the challenges of today. So in this project, we are a consortium of 10 members, and you can see we have quite a diverse consortium covering Nordic, Baltic countries, also the South and the Western Europe. Also, the consortium includes not only universities and academic institutions like Academy of Sciences, but also NGOs. And we have 2 NGOs, one from Estonia, Praxis Center for Policy Studies, and one from Hungary, Hungarian Europe Society, who also have a particular role in this project, because when building new instruments, especially educational ones, and new policy recommendations for fostering civic accountability in public communication environment, we believe that these NGOs can build and expand the network of NGOs in the future and help us exploiting the results of the project. There is one more important partner in the consortium, mainly Delphi media company from Lithuania, which is again a very important partner in terms of exploitation of the results, but also building the technical solutions or providing technical support to the project, not only website, but also online forum for keeping the discussions on the project topics, or interactive dilemma game, which should provide with some kind of training opportunities and facilitate the promotion of ideas of dialogic communication, ethics, and accountability. And there is one more member of consortium, which is not a member of European Union, but is involved in the project on the basis of national funding. This is a university, Italian University of Switzerland. And yeah, they are following the same methodological, conceptual framework, and are very important partners too. Yep, sorry, we'll move to the slides which are readable. And when we are looking at the issue, at the problems of dialogic communication, or lack of dialogic communication, lack of dialogue and understanding, lack of listening and constructive conversation. We see there are three types of knowledge gaps, and we define them as, first of all, there is a lack of knowledge and understanding how different actors in different communication environments and different communicative roles, they are interpreting their normative values and principles as participants of the public sphere. So first of all, we are looking at the theory of dialogic communication ethics, and we are trying to construct a conceptual framework for further and better understanding of the initial ideas, dialogic communication and accountability. The second knowledge gap is related to the accountability instruments, and here we base our practice, or first of all, we are using the good practice coming from media accountability environment. And based on that, we are developing an idea that civic accountability tools and guidelines should help other actors, not only journalists, but other media actors, including influencers, including politicians, young people, other important voices of the society who are already very active in a digital communication ecosystem. And the third knowledge gap is related to building civic resilience and building capacity for civic accountability. So this is mainly about how to empower individuals in participating in the digital communication environment, digital public sphere, by knowledge they receive, by the concrete value sets defined and embodied and applied in their daily communication practices. And yeah, how we are looking at the knowledge gaps, we first of all aim for these major outcomes. First of all, we will provide with a conceptual approach and framework of dialogic communication ethics, which will lead to the guidelines and formulation of the code of good communication that could be useful and applied in different educational levels, also used by the different NGOs, also media outlets. The second very important outcome is inclusive civic accountability body or prototype, which could be applied to strengthen the instruments that could help our communication environment be more healthy, more inclusive, more dialogic. And there is very important also educational part of the outcomes. And here we mentioned Dilemma Game, online forum, which will serve as a platform to, again, practice dialogue and constructive communication elements. I think that the project has been successful in the application session just because it's addressing important and very critical problems of today, and is providing some measures, innovative ideas, but also tools how to address the issues and how to provide certain solutions. And the solutions, as I said, are the conceptual framework of the inclusive civic accountability and dialogic communication, also interactive dilemma game and forum, and other supportive tools, for instance, teaching methodology for dialogic communication, also policy recommendations and other communication examples. When talking about the ideas, we also want to share some experience in our daily activities. So first of all, we are following the work plan, which has been designed from the very beginning in the application, and I think it's also has a good structure, those stable pillars, including work package 1, which is discussing the theoretical ideas and building the theoretical framework, and as such it empowers and feeds other work packages, for instance the second, which is addressed to the codes of ethics and good practice of civic accountability already implemented, with the aim to develop inclusive civic accountability prototype by the end of the project. Also, the third work package is very important here, and I haven't mentioned yet, but we are also addressing different actors and collecting different actors' perceptions, the experiences in public communication, and very much look at the vulnerable groups. What are those who experience challenges, biggest challenges when communicating in the digital environment? Their experience and the research data collected will be the basis for developing the dilemma game and online forum, which would have, which should serve to the final results and to the measures and tools to again empower our societies, our members of societies, for a dialogue, for a constructive communication, for understanding, for empathy, for moral awareness of the others. And we have the horizontal, I would say, work packages 5th and 6th, which are about dissemination, exploitation, and communication, and management and ethics. I want to stop here, but just very briefly share with you our governance structure, which I think is an important element in any project too, to have a very clear share of the responsibilities and roles. And indeed, we thought about this quite some time during the application development process, but also in the beginning of this project, how to divide our responsibilities so that we all understand the functions, first of all the objectives, but also the roles of each of the partner, of each of the work package leader, as well as in the project coordination team, we also have particular functions. And one more important stakeholder in this project is our advisory board, which is internal stakeholder, of course. They are our advisors, they are our consultants, and we've thought about them from the very beginning in the project, and it appears the external committee, steering committee, is really important when giving feedback, comments, and advice on different levels of project implementation, and especially the further exploitation of the project outcomes. Well, this is a brief about document communication so far. We've been very active online, of course, meeting regularly, and sometimes very often, every week or every second week. So these are the lessons learned. I want to perhaps go into details, but just to finish my presentation, I agree, it's a great opportunity. It's an honor, of course, to be part of the Horizon, but it's also a huge responsibility. So, of course, whenever we plan new projects, we have to be aware of the resources, time resources, human resources, financial resources too required for preparing the applications, but also later on working with the project implementation. Again, the same roles and responsibilities have to be clear: project policies and rules, internal, external communication, values, and team building has to be done on a regular basis, as well as a coordinator. You have to monitor, you have to assure quality, you have to balance between the risks and mitigation of risks and all the other important and demanding responsibilities, data management, diversity management, gender equality, and etc. So I would thank you very much at this point, and perhaps my colleague Agle would like to add anything as a project manager here. And just last but not least, we have this invitation, dive into dialogue and expand your horizons by engaging into dialogue. So yeah, this is an invitation to all of you. Get back to us, follow us on the website, on the social networks, and yeah, contact us whenever you feel you would like to have an inspiration or advice, or you would like to cooperate on the ideas mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Really, Egle, would you like to say something?
Yes, hello everyone. No need to say anything because we are out of time, and everyone is here to listen for the third presentation. I think everything was said by Christina, and if anything, and I would like, of course, to thank our NCP team and Gentota, who is always inviting us in different events and helping to restructure the ideas for the further projects development. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina, if I may, and really it was very interesting. First of all, of course, I would like to encourage you, and please send us a code of good communication. We will disseminate it. It is a great document to focus on as soon as you will have it, of course. And yeah, sure. So, and one more thing, you are the only coordinator here presenting their projects. I would just like to ask you, how much time did it took you to, from the very beginning, from your idea to the project, actually? How long before you have prepared everything?
If you are asking about application process, writing process.
Yes, but also the idea of becoming coordinator, and when you understand that your capacity is enough for it, first of all, and second, finding partners, planning everything, preparing proposal, of course.
So I would say that in our case, it was not that, we first decided to be a coordinating institution and then looked for partners.
Okay.
Good idea, but it was first of all a discussion among us and a few partners that there is a very important challenge and important problem to be addressed, which requires substantial contribution in terms of research capacity, professionals, and different stakeholders involved. And we started from the idea first, together with, I think, 3-4 partners. We came up with the idea and then started putting the proposal, and then again discussed the possible leadership and got support from our administration, also from our consortium members. That's, I think, was very organically, and naturally developing. But the process is very time-consuming. It was taking, I think, half a year at least until the submission of the proposal. And of course, the last 3 months have been super intensive. And Agla is nodding her head because we were all involved, all the partners, all the members. It was not that, only the lead partner was responsible for writing the proposal. We had different sections even. We knew who is responsible for what. And I think that was the best practice. We are building up further on and trying to indeed minimize this hierarchical, structure or governance, but involve all and share the responsibilities in the team. Agla, maybe you would like to add?
No, it's all correct that Christina is saying. It was intensive. It was regular meetings provided every single Friday. I think it was started even before the application, and when the application was submitted, every single Friday was also when we knew that they will be financed. So you can imagine that it took almost more than 6 months actually till we started the project. So within this period, there were many meetings working on work packages. So it's nothing happening right when the consortium or grant agreement is signed. No, it happens much earlier. Everything happens much earlier.
Yeah, okay, so approximate timing would be to start the preparation approximately like 6 months. Yeah, thank you very much. This was the answer I was looking for. So we are short of time, but as soon as we do not have too many pitchers that were previously applied to pitch themselves, so we have still time, and I would love to thank you very much, ladies. It was inspiring, and good luck with the, the rest of the project. And I would like to ask Anita Vaivode, the next presenter from Latvia, Associate Professor at Latvian Academy of Culture, UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Policy and Law Department, to present her project Tracks for Crafts, and get us inspired with this. And yeah, we have your presentation. I see it, and every symbol is in English. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. And it's a great pleasure to participate at this webinar. The exchange of both experiences is really most welcome. I think we're all really hearing with big ears what is happening in neighboring countries, and learning from other experiences, also seeking ways how we might eventually collaborate in future projects. So thank you indeed for inviting me to contribute. Well, before coming to the Tracks for Crafts project, where I'm involved personally, I would wish to give a little bit of a context to how Latvian Academy of Culture has been engaged with Horizon Europe projects altogether, and about the Academy's context as well, a little bit, to have an insight where I'm coming from myself when I speak about our experiences. So Latvian Academy of Culture is a rather recent, we might say, institution, but which is working both in the field of education, but then also research, as well as artistic creativity. So it has quite a broad range of specialties proposed for studies, but then also a broad range of research interest that we see in research projects. We also have quite an extensive collaboration within the Academy between different disciplines, and that is a little bit kind of internal training of interdisciplinarity to come up with also, yeah, regarding projects and external collaborations as well. Institute of Arts and Cultural Studies is a structural unit within the Academy, although I have to say that Academy as such is registered as research institution within our Latvian context, so to say. But we do have, why I'm kind of putting an emphasis on this, in the research strategy that the Academy has, there's a very strong attention paid to the internationalization. When we look to different objectives, so to say, research objectives that Academy has, and there are several, but then the international outreach is in fact the first one which comes there, and that is, so to say, institutional support from the very ground level to go on with different initiatives and projects, and find new partners and develop new initiatives. So that is important for our institutional context to emphasize. When we look at the whole kind of research activity that we have at the Academy, so back in 2022, we had altogether 25 research projects, and we see at the bottom of the visualization here that Horizon Europe was one among these 25 projects, which in a way characterizes also the level of competition for Horizon Europe, which is not easy to reach, but then also that characterizes to what extent researchers at the Academy are involved in different other research activities, which are, to some extent, they are parallel. But what I want to say also that this other engagement, which has been there and which continues to be there, it also strengthens our possibilities to apply for Horizon Europe projects, because we do develop also, for instance, international research networks in these other formats which are existing, and which then contribute and help to come up with a Horizon Europe project as well. We have, and that is also coming from these different research projects, the research activities is mostly based on competitive funding. The left side that you see, performance funding and basic funding, those are two streams of funding coming from the Ministry of Education and Science, but mostly activities are based on research, which I suppose is quite common in our different research institutions in the Baltic countries, but then also beyond. Another aspect to mention briefly is that we have experienced quite a change in terms of full-time equivalent of researchers engaged in research at the Academy. So now we see almost 17 But if we look like 7 years ago, it was just like 2.9 full-time equivalent. So it has been quite an extensive change over these last just a couple of years. But then also we see that the overall number of people working in research is quite bigger. So we also can, in a way, conclude that mostly this is part-time engagement in research, in addition to also academic and other activities. And then before I come to projects, we also, as other institutions in Latvia, we went through international evaluation of the institute and the academy altogether. But then also from these external views, which was emphasized, that was indeed this very strong emphasis on collective research projects, international cooperation, and then also cultural heritage, which is very strongly developed, so to say, as a field from the academic's perspective, where we do have a number of projects where we engaged in research activities around heritage matters. So now I come to Horizon Europe experience that we do have, and I'm speaking myself from the Tracks for Crafts project, but I wish to provide a little bit of a broader context. We had the first Horizon Europe project back from 2016 and 2019, where we were involved. And that was a project where also, besides research activities, there was a strong component of artistic creative process that we proposed also from the academy side, and which was very important at that moment for that particular project. And now we have 3 other projects which are running at this moment. There is In Situ project, where my colleagues are involved, where similarly to the first project that was presented here with labs, so to say, we do have a lab in our case where one municipality is taking more closer attention in this particular project in the framework of creative industries in non-urban areas. We do have another small-scale project from sea to street, where a student of ours is involved, and that is kind of not directly but indirectly, so to say, funded also by Horizon Europe. And then we come to Tracks for Crafts, where I'm involved personally, and that is a project which is focusing on transforming crafts knowledge for sustainable, inclusive, and economically viable heritage in Europe. So it brings together interest in heritage as a social value, but then also heritage as an economic value in very concrete terms in the European context. And this project is led by University of Antwerp in Belgium, and it has a number of partners. You see all the partners here on slide. And what I also wish to emphasize, and that was already said in previous presentations regarding concrete projects, that this diversity is probably quite important, so that we do have institutions which are more research oriented, or which are really into research very directly. But then we also have a number of partners which are non-governmental organizations, which are memory institutions as museums, for instance. And those are, in our case, we name them as pilot cases. And what we understand by that is that within the time frame of 4 years of project, we do have quite an extensive period of time devoted for experimentation. So when I say experimentation, it's really testing different combinations that might be existing between traditional crafts knowledge, for instance, and innovation, be that technological innovation or others. So there's a quite attention, indeed, to coming up with different novel solutions. So University of Antwerp was the one who invited us to participate in the project. And our part is focusing specifically on legal issues and cultural policy issues, and that has been our specialty to some extent also in our previous research projects. We also, in a way, listening to previous experiences that have been presented, I also can say that we are very much into intense cooperation and collaboration with other partners on the project. And probably the level of cooperation and its intensity is even extending the expectations that we had at the very beginning, where when writing the project, we come up with our own initiatives, we come up with our own proposals of what we might find as part of the project and certain activities and so on. But when the project is really fully drafted, and then when we start implementing, then we have the possibility to be engaged also in those other activities that other partners had been envisaging, and we really can learn also from, as it was said previously, from different methodologies and so on that might be developing. And speaking about methodologies, this research project is also a context which allows for us to develop new research approaches. To some extent, we ground our activities in terms of legal analysis. We ground our activities in research experience that we've had previously, but we also develop new methodologies, and that is very much also kind of an interesting part of the project, where we can have feedback from other partners. We got the invitation to the project. First of all, I have to say it is also thanks to a network which was existing between UNESCO chairs, which is around intangible cultural heritage thematically, where different universities are working on different aspects regarding this specific heritage. And then we had already good contacts with our colleagues at the University of Antwerp, and we had concrete collaborations also previously. So that is also yet another, in a way, format of international engagement, but which can turn into concrete collaborations leading to Horizon Europe projects. And now I come to some observations, and I have to say that these would be that I would propose from the side of also myself, but then also my colleagues engaged in other Horizon Europe projects, where we wish to highlight some lessons learned, but then also some reflections. Mostly thinking about how we come to reach Horizon Europe project as a format of collaboration. So I mentioned already at the beginning of the presentation the institutional framework and the, let's say, institutional support for international cooperation. So that is indeed which is very much encouraging that. But in addition to that, there's also personal engagement aspects, where we see research competences being accumulating mostly in the fields that we have, fields of our interest, and that I believe characterizes all of us, that we do work on issues that we find of interest, but then also we build certain competencies and certain collaborations as well that come along. Personal contacts have been very decisive in all of the projects that we do have in Horizon Europe project. A colleague of mine also mentioned responsiveness being as important. For instance, when you do receive an email asking whether you're interested or not to participate, it's important to respond as rapidly as you can if you are interested. So practically, that sort of communication issues are very decisive as well. Building on experiences is mainly thinking about also those projects where we have reached a good evaluation above threshold and so on, but where we do not reach necessarily the funding possibility. And anyhow, this is also building the experience of ours to come up with new research ideas. And that has been also our case, that we've had applications where the funding has been, in a way, proposed in the end for other projects. But that is part of, experiences for all of us, I believe. In our case, thematically focused networks have been important. Here I mention European network of observatories in the field of arts and cultural education. I mentioned also UNESCO chairs previously, and those networks have been decisive in our case to develop research applications. And when I say this, I think there's kind of reflection also to be made in connection to the very first presentation we heard today, which is really, in a way, encouraging to go beyond our thematic networks and reach out to other disciplines, to other researchers in completely novel kind of areas to us. So that would be kind of a different and novel challenge, because we have remained in the networks that we had already. and cooperation experiences beyond academia. That is something where I could share my own experience when we engaged in providing, for instance, expertise for our national governments, which might be in a way applied in a way context for activity. But that is also a very much relevant frame where we do meet also other experts from other governments. And in that way, we can also build cooperation. And then also to conclude, some additional aspects, other programs. In our case, for instance, Erasmus Plus program, which in a way encourages academic exchange, research exchange, administrative exchange as well between institutions, has been important. So that through those exchanges, we meet other partners and come to new ideas. In our case, regarding Tracks for Crafts, Osmose program has been very important, which is Latvia-France intergovernmental cooperation program, which proposes funding for mobility and exchange among research groups. In a way, quite limited funding really for networking, but in our case, it has been very important for developing partnerships. And then also, which was mentioned previously, administrative support, internal support within the institution, despite limited resources, but still building on capacities and teamwork for developing projects. But then also, which was also emphasized previously, the very important role of lead partners and their administrative capacity. I have to say, I have been amazed to the level of professionalism of the University of Antwerp, for instance, throughout the project preparation. It has been really amazing experience to work with them and to continue to work with them. And then also I have to say that once we start with project implementation, then, for instance, assistance which is provided from Latvian Research Council, we have experienced that is very supportive as well. And there is very great responsiveness to provide solutions and to provide advice, also how to deal with concrete administrative issues that we need to tackle. So we're thankful also indeed to Latvian Research Council for the support provided. So this is briefly introducing our experience, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. You've been like a thunderstorm, very quick and hopefully bright and effective. So thank you. It was inspiring. Really, thank you everyone who spoke or all the speakers who agreed to participate. Thank you, presenters also, and participants, and here is where the recording stops, but the event